Chapter 111. Alex looked at Torchic with a kind smile and said, "Do you want to fight this Pokemon?" Torchic, who has been very active since her birth, would annoy Alex several times a day. Thus he thought that he should look for a fight for her. So when she finally heard that Alex allowed her to fight, she showed an excited expression and ran around excitedly. Alex had expected this kind of behavior from her and could only give a wry smile. If Alex could describe Torchic's personality in one word, it would be playful. Torchic walked in front of Alex's group and got ready for the fight. Although Alex hadn't allowed her to fight, he had explained a lot about fighting, so she knows at least basic knowledge. Kirlia walked between both Pokemon and gave the signal to start the fight. Torchic, let's start with Attract. Alex, who doesn't know exactly how the move Attract works in this world, wanted to test it immediately against this Pokemon. Alex cannot imagine that Torchic being able to use this move effectively against elite Pokemon. Like Disable, Growl, and Confuse Ray in this world, this move definitely has some requirements to work. Krabby, who seems to be fighting for the first time, looked curiously at Torchic and didn't immediately use a move. Kingler got furious after seeing this and started shouting at Krabby, who just wasted crucial time. Krabby got a little nervous after getting yelled at and started preparing Bubble. Torchic quickly managed to use Attract, and Krabby stopped doing anything and just looked at Torchic with a mesmerized expression. Alex saw that Krabby was doing nothing except looking in the direction of Torchic and was amazed. The power of Attract is better than he thought. Although this move has specific requirements to work correctly, it can be very helpful in a battle if the opponent is hit by it. While the fight was on, Torchic noticed that her feet were getting lighter, and looked perplexedly at her feet. This is the first time she felt that she was suddenly becoming faster for no reason. Speed boost in this world only works when a Pokemon is in a fight and is immediately reset when the fight is over, which didn't make it as strong as Alex had hoped. But even with this disadvantage, speed boost is probably one of the best skills in the world. Torchic, use Sunny Day. Torchic heard Alex and started using Sunny Day. After a few seconds, Alex felt that it was getting a bit warm, but he noticed that the sun was still covered by the clouds, which meant that this move does not affect the real sun. Krabby, who was still looking in the direction of Torchic, showed no signs of waking up. Alex thought that it might be hard to wake up from Attract if the Pokemon is not harmed. He decided to do many tests with the move Attract later in order to find out exactly. The knowledge of how and when a move works are one of the most fundamental requirements of a trainer. Torchic, use Overheat. Krabby, who had a terrible SP, def of 25, probably couldn't take this strong attack even if he is a water-type Pokemon. Torchic gathered all the fire energy in her body and sent a big ball of flame, similar to the soccer ball, towards Krabby, who just snapped out of Torchic's Attract. Krabby could not evade this attack and was hit by this attack, which led him to pass out the next moment. Fortunately, Pokemon heal relatively quickly, so the leader showed no concern for Krabby's injury. Normally, Pokemon can only take permanent damage if they are unconscious or overwork their bodies and keep fighting like Crobat in the finale. Kingler took Krabby and gave him to another Kingler who was protecting him while he was unconscious. Although Kingler is a Pokemon that can value strength, they don't mistreat losers. Alex walked towards the tired Torchic and started praising her for her great fight. Torchic, who had heard so many compliments from Alex for the first time, brightly smiled as she listened. She jumped on Alex's red cape when she noticed that she was getting tired and made herself comfortable on Alex's head. Alex was completely surprised by Torchic's action and didn't know for a moment what to do. Torchic being on his head doesn't bother him much, and it doesn't make it difficult for him to move around. But it felt like his respect as a trainer was being violated. Although he can bring her down and yell for her actions, Alex thought that it was unnecessary. Kirlia also really enjoyed sitting on his shoulder when she was a kid. Ralts. So Torchic probably wants to do that, too. Is this how it feels to have kids? I may have a weak spot for young Pokemon. Crobat, who saw this scene, laughed out loud. But shortly after a few seconds, he suddenly stopped and thought, hey, am I imagining it, or is our trainer nicer to Torchic than to me? Scizor, who didn't want to miss the chance to make fun of Crobat, said, of course he is. No idea why you're making such a stupid comment. Unless you want to be treated like a child. Well, that will suit your mental age. Ha ha ha. Ditto, who is usually shy, said, I think that's because she's a female. Although I don't quite get it, our trainers seem to treat female Pokemon better. Shieldon had a curious expression when he asked, "Oh, is that really so? Brother Scizor, do you know why he's doing this? Hey, why are you asking those barbecue tongs when the smart Pokemon is in front of you?" Scizor was instantly annoyed. "You're just the most arrogant Pokemon, so shut up. Ought to answer your question." As Scizor talked, Crobat cut him off, and they both started insulting each other. Kirlia, who had been listening to this conversation in silence until now, could only shake her head with helplessness. She looked in the direction of Shieldon and said, "I hope you don't take after these two elder brothers of ours and behave responsibly." Shieldon nodded to his big sister but still looked interestingly at the two quarreling Pokemon. Kirlia and Ditto could only breathe a helpless sigh. Chapter 112. 10 minutes later, the Kingler, whom the leader had sent away, came from the sea with the treasure chest on his back. Alex, who saw this treasure chest, suppressed his greed to steal the whole treasure chest. He thought about the pros and cons, and in the end, decided not to try to rob this group. This group is much stronger than the collective power of Alex's Pokemon, so that even with careful tactics, it is tough to win safely. Besides, Alex was gonna stay on this island for a long time, so he can even trade items with this group several times. Why should he bear all these disadvantages for the benefit of saving a little money? Kingler took the chest and placed it in front of Alex. Then the female leader said, "Okay, here it is, see if you can find something that interests you." For Kingler, these items are useless. They collect it as a hobby. Kinda like James's hobby of collecting bottle caps. When you can swap these useless items for food that can increase the potential, there is not much to think about. I couldn't help myself from inserting a JoJo meme. Yar yar. Alex, who looked inside the chest, found a lot of useless stuff. Scales, shells, and pearls make up the majority of the contents of this chest. Although the pearls can be sold for a relatively good price, there were no big pearls that could earn a large amount of money. What made Alex's day was finding 3 water stones in a King's Rock in this chest. There are a total of 4 types of evolution stones, each having different values. And one evolution stone can be 100 times more valuable than another evolution stone. Low water stone, mid water stone, high water stone, and top water stone. Low water stone, don't change the potential of Pokemon using it. Mid water stone has a very small chance of increasing the potential of Pokemon under gold potential. High water stone has a good chance of improving the potential the Pokemon under gold potential. Top water stone enhances the potential of every Pokemon that uses it. It can also improve the potential exponentially if the Pokemon's potential is very low. For example, normal to shallow silver. 2 water stones were low water stones. But fortunately, Alex found 1 high water stones. Looking through the chest, Alex saw a scale that had a unique color. This scale reminded Alex a lot of an item called the Deep Sea Scale, so he also chose it. Alex chose these items at the end. 1 high water stones, 2 low water stone, King's Rock, Deep Sea Scale possibly. 153 pearls. Although he doesn't need any of these items, they are very valuable and can bring him a lot of money. Also, who knows when he might need one of these items. Especially the King's Rock is a very expensive and rare item. Besides, most trainers are not aware of the importance of this King's Rock, thus making it even more valuable. Although Alex thinks that the Alliance must have already discovered what these items do, it seems to be confidential information in this world. Alex and Kingler negotiated for a few minutes for the amount of food Alex had to give as payment. Fortunately, Kingler only knew that these items were useful to Alex but not how much. So she was at a disadvantage in this negotiation. In the end, Alex only had to pay for 1 month of food for all of these items. Alex wanted to bring the amount down a bit more, but he also didn't want to lose Kingler's goodwill for a few Pokédollars. Just the chance to negotiate with Kingler again after 2 months is worth losing a little money. Losing the opportunity of earning 1 million Pokédollars for the momentary gain of 1,000 Pokédollars didn't make sense to Alex. Alex said goodbye to the Kingler group and set off to explore this area more closely. Because it's a green area, Alex wasn't afraid to explore it. He walked along the coast and occasionally saw various water-type Pokemon swimming near the shoreline. But because most of the Pokemon didn't have good potential, Alex ignored them. After a few minutes, Alex suddenly received a warning from Crobat that 2 Pokemon were fighting against each other. That piqued Alex's interest, and he asked Crobat to lead them to these two Pokemon. Crobat wordlessly led the group along the coast. After 3 minutes, Alex could see two Pokemon fighting at the coast. A large Gyarados and a Kingler with a dangerous aura fought on the edge of the beach. Even without the system, experienced trainers would be able to assess that Kingler was an elite Pokemon. Gyarados, several times taller than Kingler, was completely covered in wounds. The blood on his body may lead someone to believe that he was a shiny Gyarados. In comparison, Kingler only had a few minor injuries. Alex, who saw the information of both Pokemon, immediately knew the reason. Pokemon, Kingler, LV, 48, Type, Water, Abilities, Hyper Cutter, Gender, Male, Potential, Silver, Moves, Bubble, Mud Sport, Vice Grip, Leer, Harden, Bubble Beam, Mud Shot, Metal Claw, Stomp, Protect, Slam, Crabhammer E. Innate Talent Giga Impact E. Pokemon, Gyarados, LV, 38, Type, Water, Flying, Abilities, Intimidate, Gender, Male, Potential, Deep, Silver, Moves, Splash, Tackle, Leer, Twister, Ice Fang, Aqua Tail, Scary Face, Dragon Rage, Crunch. Innate Talent Dragon Tail E. Defeating an elite Pokemon without a particularly effective tactic is almost impossible. So it was not surprising that Gyarados was at the losing end in this fight. Alex was also a little surprised that Gyarados even tried to fight this Kingler, who is much stronger than him. If Alex was Gyarados, he would have flown away immediately and tried to escape this almost impossible fight. Fighting a losing war that only leads to your destruction for no reason is a fool's job. Although Kingler is stronger than Gyarados, it cannot fly or swim as fast as Gyarados. So there is no reason for Gyarados to fight to the end. While thinking, Alex suddenly noticed that the Gyarados' eyes lost their aggressive expression and looked normal again. After Gyarados could now think like normal Pokemon, he immediately flew away from Kingler, who kept chasing him with a crazy look. Alex, who saw how Gyarados was apparently easily controlled by his emotions, understood why it is so difficult to train a Gyarados for a trainer. Chapter 113. Kingler was very annoyed when he saw that Gyarados ran away. Then he looked in Alex's direction and suddenly started running at a relatively fast pace towards him. Alex saw Kingler running aggressively in his direction and shouted, "Hey Kingler, we are not your enemies." Kingler ignored Alex's declaration and ran in his direction without saying anything. Alex showed a cold expression as he looked at this Kingler. Although his Pokemon are weaker, they are not so weak that they have to cower against him. Although Alex doesn't like fights where he doesn't have a 100% win rate, he's not a person who can be easily provoked. Kirlia, Will-O-Wisp, Scizor, Focus Energy, Ditto, transform into Crobat and use Confuse Ray. Crobat, Toxic, Shieldon, Metal Sound. Alex, who knows that a Pokemon can be poisoned and burned simultaneously, of course, uses both of these moves. Although these moves would have quite a weak effect due to the vast level gap between them and Kingler, they can still do a bit of damage over time. After a few seconds, Alex's Pokemon used all of their moves against the Kingler, who was running like a tank towards them. Alex realized the Metal Sound was totally useless even though it hit Kingler. He understood that the likely difference in strength between Shieldon and Kingler was too large for the move to work on him. Confuse Ray and Will-O-Wisp seemed to have worked on him, but the effect was much weaker than ordinary. Only Toxic seemed to have been a little effective. Kingler suddenly stopped running and started preparing a move. Alex, who saw this, knew that there was no time to waste. Kirlia and Shieldon, use Protect together. Just when he said that, Kingler used Bubble Beam, which quickly flew towards Alex's group. Kirlia and Shieldon used Protect at the same time to block the move. Although both shields were almost destroyed by this one move, together, they managed to stop this attack. Alex was slightly shocked that a non-expert move could almost destroy the shield of two Protects. But it's not surprising since it is a low elite Pokemon. He could understand the arrogance of these Kingler a little better now. Seeing that his attack was blocked, Kingler used Bubble Beam again. Alex, who saw this, looked annoyed and said, "Kirlia, use Thunderbolt. Ditto and Crobat use Fly. Shieldon, use Iron Defense." After saying that, he ran out of reach of Kingler with Torchic. Although he was more than 25 meters away, he wanted to be at least 40 meters away to feel a little safe. With this distance, it would be easier for Kirlia to rescue him if necessary. Torchic looked at Alex to show that she can fight too. Alex looked at Torchic and said with a stern voice, "No. It's very dangerous for you to go into a fight like this." Torchic showed a sad expression with tears in her eyes. Alex's face slightly twitched when he saw her sobbing. He took Torchic in his hand to prevent her from running away without telling and continued to watch the fight. He couldn't waste time explaining to Torchic exactly why she can't participate in this fight. Although she could easily break out of Alex's hand, she can't do it without getting Alex's attention, which was important for Alex to watching the fight without to fear that Torchic runs away if he don't pay attention to her. Kingler used the bubble beam to hit Shieldon, who couldn't evade. Shieldon, who was thrown back several meters from the hit, laid unconscious on the floor with severe wounds. This Kingler is really smart, attacking the weaker Pokemon first to put more pressure on others. Alex took Shieldon's Pokeball and quickly called Shieldon back before he gets hit again. Unconscious Pokemon can be critically injured and even killed, so Alex naturally called Shieldon back immediately. Although Kingler was hit by Thunderbolt and Fly twice after using this move, the damage Kingler took appeared to be very small. Alex saw how little harm Kingler was taking. Fortunately, that wasn't my main plan. He saw that Scizor had already used focus energy to the maximum and was ready for his next command. Kirlia, use Helping Hand on Scizor. Ditto transforms into Scizor after Kirlia uses Helping Hand on him. Crobat, use Protect to stop Kingler's attack. Kingler, who was only a few yards away from Crobat, used Crabhammer after jumping high in the air. Crobat wanted to avoid the attack but quickly realized that he wouldn't be able to do it in time and used Protect instantly. Kingler swung his claws like a baseball bat against Crobat's shield. In a second, the Protect shield was broken, and Crobat was thrown to the ground. Although the shield absorbed most of the damage, Crobat had suffered a great deal of damage. While Crobat was gaining time for others, Kirlia used Helping Hand on Scizor to reinforce Scizor's next move. Then Ditto used Transform to transform into Scizor. And because Ditto's transform is on the expert rank, the reinforcement of Scizor was also copied. Kirlia, Thunderbolt, Crobat, Shadow Ball, Scizor, Ditto, Giga Impact. Kingler, who saw two Scizors running at him with high speed, also used Giga Impact. He was hit again by Crobat and Kirlia before he traded moves with Ditto and Scizor. Scizor, Ditto, and Kingler collided hard against each other. Although Kingler's strength was higher, he was hit in the head, which also caused critical damage. Scizor and Ditto were badly injured and had only about 30–40% HP left. Kingler, on the other hand, looked better. Alex would estimate that he had around 50% HP left. When Alex wanted to prepare for his next move, he saw a group of Kingler and Krabby running in their direction from a distance. "Come to me quickly." Alex's Pokemon immediately stopped fighting and quickly ran towards Alex. Kingler did not follow Alex's Pokemon but instead looked towards Kingler and Krabby's group. Alex said via telepathy to Kirlia that she should get ready to teleport them all away on his signal. Then he looked with curiosity at what this group wanted to do. Kingler and the female Kingler were talking, more like bickering, to each other. But Kirlia and Alex were too far away to understand. But from the expressions of the two, Alex could sense that they were arguing about something. He could well imagine what these two Kingler were arguing about. After 3 minutes of quiet waiting, the female Kingler looked in Alex's direction as she made a go motion with her claws. Alex briefly showed an annoyed expression and thought about attacking this group. But the opportunity of exchanging items with this group again made him suppress this feeling. Though the main reason was that they weren't in a good position to fight. His Pokemon were not in the best situation to fight, and fighting this low elite Kingler along with this group was too much. "Come on, let's get out of this safe green area," said Alex with a sarcastic tone. Author note. In the tournament fights, I try to change, Crobat, use Fly, to like, Crobat, let's finish it with Fly, or, Crobat, use Fly again, to make it more interesting. But here in such fights, where you don't want to waste time, I am only using Pokemon's name and the move's name unless necessary. What do you think? Chapter 114, Saffron City, Sylph Company. Giovanni was sitting in his chair and looked at Lisa softly when Lisa came in. Lisa, who usually has a playful smile, showed a serious expression as she entered the room. Although she didn't smile, there was respect in her eyes when she looked at the boss, Giovanni. Giovanni, who was quietly watching her, said with a slightly friendly tone, "Oh. Lisa, thanks for coming. Sit down so that we can talk further." Lisa, hearing the kindness of Giovanni's words, smiled. Of course, she thanked Giovanni politely and sat down. She always saw Giovanni as the father figure she never had, so she was very gratified after hearing the friendly tone of Giovanni. When she was young, Giovanni personally sacrificed a lot of time to train her, which she has never forgotten. Lisa, you did a really great job this time. You not only discovered and trained Maria but Alex too. Boss, although I'm happy to be so useful, I was just lucky this time. Especially, I didn't give any help to Alex to become so strong. Though he did buy items of my Lugia. Giovanni looked surprised. He thought that Lisa at least gave help to Alex, who got strong ridiculously fast. His assessment of Alex improved again. Although some bosses would have feared that their subordinates would become too strong, Giovanni wasn't worried about that. He has confidence that he can control Alex or at least make him useful for Team Rocket. Giovanni had already made a good assessment of Alex's character, so there was no reason to be worried. The fact that Alex has a neutral attitude towards Team Rocket shows Giovanni a lot about his character. The difference between slightly positive and neutral might not seem that great, but it is for Giovanni. Alex, who got a good Pokémon and support from Team Rocket, thinks about Team Rocket in only neutral terms. This shows that he is not very grateful for this help or believes that he can pay it back several times more later. If Alex had a slight disdain for Team Rocket, that would show that his morality does not align with Team Rocket. And even though Team Rocket helped him, he disagrees with the work they do. Still, Alex would be willing to continue to work for Team Rocket if it brings him advantages. And therefore, he would have slight contempt and not complete contempt. But this is not the case. Even after the help he received and him not having any problem with the work ethics of Team Rocket, he is neutral towards them. Then what about his slight contempt towards Alliance? The difference between neutral and slight contempt is greater than what it looks like. This is beneficial for Giovanni. It doesn't matter if that was luck or not. You did something that brought Team Rocket benefits. For that, you will surely be rewarded. He took out a briefcase and gave it to Lisa without a word. Lisa thanked him and asked afterward, "Boss, now that I'm an executive, can you tell me more about your plan with Alex and the other talented rookies?" No problem, but I don't have a special plan yet because I want to see who is the strongest rookie after 3 months. Lisa, who didn't understand why Giovanni wanted to wait 3 months, assumed that he probably wanted to observe their improvement rate. Though she is not sure about her assumption. "Boss, I have one more question about the Alliance if that's okay." Giovanni showed a friendly smile. "Of course, Lisa. As an executive, you should know important secrets like that. Like the fact that we have 3 Team Rocket members as gym leaders. And this number may soon become 4. I am sure that I can answer your question." Lisa, who heard this, recognized how much higher the position from executive to elite captain is. The difference is really big. I always wanted to ask why Team Rocket never tries to control an Elite 4 member and puts more energy on the gym leaders. Don't the Elite 4 have the highest power in the Alliance? Why not try to make a Team Rocket member like Koga an Elite 4 member? Haha, this question shows that you really don't understand how the Alliance works. He made a pause before he continued with a smile. Although the positions with the most power are the champions and the Elite 4 of each region, they can't really control the region. First of all, you have to know that the Alliance is divided into 7 parts, and each part controls its own region. Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, Alola, and Kalos. After that, you have to know that the power of the Kanto Alliance is very divided. Although it's hard to explain, I'll try to make it as easy as possible. To explain it more simply, we'll talk about the influence in numerical terms. If I were to give points showing the amount of power influence, it would be like this. 1 equals hardly any influence. 3 equals minor influence. 5 equals relatively influential. 7 equals great influence. 10 equals one of the most influential people in the Alliance. 15 equals the most influential individual in the Alliance. I giving this point a term called influence points. Each of the Elite 4 has 10 influence points, and the champion has 15 influence points. Which sounds like a lot but isn't really if you know about the other influencer. First, the 8 official gym leaders have 7 influence points each. Then the mayors of each major city have 3 influence points. The mayors of a small city have only 1 influence point. Then comes the industry. These sectors also have a lot of power because they have an integral role in our society. For example, The largest food company in Kanto has 5 influence points. The clothing company, construction company, sales company, USW have influence points varying from 3 to 5. All relatively large companies in Kanto have a say in the Kanto Alliance, because a large portion of the funding is contributed by them. In addition, there are also the large clans of Kanto. The most well-known should be the Joy and Jenny clan, which are very influential. Only the clan president of the two has a value of 10, which shows the amount of influence that these two great clans have. Moreover, there are other parties like the professor community, which also has a lot of influence. The representative of the professor community, Professor Samuel Oak, alone, has 10 influence points. As you can see, there are a lot of parties in the Kanto Alliance that control this region. Although the champion and the Elite Four are indeed one of the most influential people, their influence doesn't even add up to 20%. The Elite Four is just one of the influential people, nothing more. Lisa, who heard this, showed an astounded expression. The information Giovanni had given her about the alliance was very precise, which is really not easy to find out for a regular person. Boss, if the alliance is as divided as you say, then how do they control Kanto? The champion and the Elite Four have enough power to change small things in Kanto and make small decisions for the alliance. When big decisions have to be made, they will vote with the most influential people to decide. Although they do discuss before the election, normally, each party chooses what is most advantageous for them. Lisa saw how difficult it is to control the alliance and realized why Giovanni was unwilling to sacrifice many resources to get an Elite Four member. Although it's nice to have one, it's not very important to Team Rocket. She could understand Giovanni's step in choosing gym leaders and other medium-sized parties. Chapter 115. Alex took some super potions out of his TRH device and started healing his Pokemon. Although Kirlia has a healing move, it is not on expert rank, and therefore, it is worse than a super potion. Only Scisor's Roost has a better effect than super potion, so he doesn't need any healing items. Then he looked at the area he wanted to explore next. Although other areas have many enticing things, Area 10 has one particular item that piqued Alex's interest. Area 10 hash. Danger level, Orange, Pokemon Leader. Mid-Elite Onix, very aggressive. Rare Pokemon, Phanpy. Rare items, Moonstone. Rare items, only shows items that can be often found in this area. This means that there are probably a lot of Moonstone in this rocky area. Although Alex doesn't own a Pokemon for whom Moonstone is useful, Moonstones are generally valuable and a great way to make quick money. Especially if you can find the mid and high Moonstones. Finding top Moonstones is very unlikely but not impossible, especially in this area, which was very appealing to Alex. Top Moonstones cannot be bought just like that. Such valuable items are often sold in big auctions for a lot of money. Although Alex doesn't know the value a top Moonstone can be auctioned, he guessed that it has to be at least 1 million Pokédollars. Probably even more, a lot more. Although he has a way to make money, it is not very safe to do it frequently. He can't sell too many silver Pokemon at once, or else someone will find out that something is wrong. Although he can probably earn several million Pokédollars after a few months, it is unfortunately not enough for Alex now. He now has 6 Pokemon who eat expensive food every day, which costs him an average of 6,000 Pokédollars daily. In addition, training items and healing items cost around 2,000 daily. He trains daily. That means that he spends at least 8,000 Pokédollars per day. Probably even more if you factor in other things. This way, he loses at least 240,000 Pokédollars per month. However, it is most likely more than 300,000 Pokédollars because of Pokemon that eat more like Shieldon. This is without taking into account the purchase of TMs or valuable Pokemon items. Although he can probably make 1 million Pokédollars a month if he stays in a city, Alex thinks he can make even more money on this island. While a bit more dangerous, the rewards are really very good. If the map doesn't have any wrong information, there are various valuable items on this island that are just waiting to be found. Alex was very pleased with Giovanni's reward. For him, it's even better than a gold Pokemon. As long as he uses the information given to him wisely and is careful enough, this island is not really dangerous for him. He can also train his Pokemon faster on this island, which is also a great advantage. Alex and his Pokemon slowly left Area 3 and started to enter neighboring Area 10. This area is connected to the sand coast and turns into a rocky and uneven area. Many different rock, ground, and steel-type Pokémon were visible when Alex entered this area. Nosepass, Geodude, and Sandshrew were commonly found Pokémon here. He also saw a few silver Pokémon among those Pokémon. Although Alex would like to capture all these Pokémon, he doesn't have enough food to give them. Pokémon can survive for a long time without food. It's bad for training if Pokémon don't eat every day, but 2 months is asking for too much. Pokémon in the Pokéballs consume their food much more slowly and therefore can stay in these Pokéballs for a long time. It is okay to leave a caught Pokémon for at least 3 weeks without food in the Pokéball, as long as it has not entered the Pokéball with an empty stomach. Alex, who wanted to save food, will only start catching Pokémon in the last 3 weeks. Of course, if he finds a gold Pokémon or a valuable silver Pokémon, he won't miss the opportunity. As he moved around the big area, almost all of the Pokémon in the wild avoided them. These Pokémon were able to assess Alex's Pokémon well and didn't want to provoke Alex. Although a few very aggressive Pokémon, who couldn't use their mind properly, still attacked Alex. And they were quickly defeated by Alex's Pokémon. Alex suddenly saw a strong Pokémon arrogantly walking in his direction. Dash. Pokémon. Golem. LV. 40. Type. Rock Ground. Abilities. Sturdy. Gender. Male. Potential. Deep Silver. Move. Defense Curl. Tackle. Sand Attack. Bide. Rock Throw. Stealth Rock. Takedown. Self-Destruct. Rock Slide. Double Edge. Innate Talent Earthquake E. Dash. Earthquake on the expert rank is really good. Deep Silver isn't bad either. It's a shame that I don't like his talent, nor is he any good compared to my Pokémon. The only advantage he has is that he is an elite Pokémon. But convincing these arrogant Pokémon is really not worth the effort. I'd rather catch it and sell it for good money. Hush. Hush. Don't say it. Even if Alex has to sacrifice a bit of his excellent Pokémon food to catch this Golem, it is well worth the effort. Golem is a popular Pokémon species that can be sold for a good amount of money. The Earthquake had ranked on the expert, and it is at the elite level, so it should fetch a lot of money. Especially when you consider that silver Pokémon are still relatively rare. Alex saw that his Pokémon were in an alert position and tried to warn Golem to not come near. And yet, this arrogant Pokémon was still slowly moving towards them without any care. Alex could understand these arrogant Pokémon a bit. Usually, elite Pokémon are not afraid of other non-elite Pokémon even if they are in a group. As long as this group does not have many Pokémon higher than LV35, it will not be afraid of group battles. Maybe if Alex had 3 LV39 Pokémon, Golem wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. But because Alex's Pokémon have relatively low levels, Golem was not afraid. Fortunately, Alex's Pokémon are very well trained, making them a lot stronger than regular wild Pokémon. Even though he's weaker than Kingler, he has a really annoying move. Alex thought as he noticed that they are just about in Golem's range of attack.